Thing I hate about Warframe is when this kind of damage can become completely useless the moment you have to deal with anything that has damage attenuation, like Necramechs, Archons, or just simply the fact you can just do that to Behemoth Juggernauts, units that are supposed to be only damageable whenever you hit their weak point. And basically same applies to any kind of Juggernauts that are demolishers. But when it comes to Necramechs or other stuff that's damage attenuated, all this damage goes to fuck itself, because the damage is straight up limited and goes way lower every single hit. But let's use Archon as a better example, because the Necramechs are quite easy to kill still on the base level, on the 155, but look at the Archon. Big difference in first, let me stack my Pyro first. And just look at the difference instantly. You do so much more damage, but still, he will do his phases, he will summon his stupid ass, and this is the most stupid ass ones, the Sentients that defend your Archon. The Boreal got the stupidest ones because you have to shoot these things. But I got a fix for you. And to simply fix the issue, we need to use multishot. And for this video, I'm gonna show you how to use multishot on a melee weapon, with the most obvious pick for whenever we want even more multishot, which is the Xata's Whisper. And I'm gonna introduce you to Infested Brother of Quassus, Arum Spinosa. Infested Warframe you get from Isolation Vaults or Warframe Market, which is the way I did it. Because I simply refuse to do Isolation Vaults in order to farm up any of these parts. I'm gonna use exact same build I use for Eclipse with Xata's Whisper on my Kullervo. And since I'm gonna be on Kullervo and my Wrathful Advance gonna provide crazy ass amount of flat critical strike chance to my melee weapon, I'm not gonna be using anything like melee duplicate. So I will be probably doing millions and millions damage over the possible, so sadly so much of the damage is being wasted due to the damage attenuation. So look how fast we're gonna just phase him into the next phase. One press of heavy swing. And the best part is he ain't getting any tankier here. And just look at that amount of damage instances. Now let's take a look at that first damage instance to the Necramech and remember it, so we can compare it now. And take a moment to realize how much lower in the first place the damage is. It's limited to 175k from the get-go, so just imagine the level cap Necramech now. How many times harder it's gonna be to kill it then? One of the best things is I can take this guy out as well with this tactic, and I fucking hate to deal with him normally. Lovely. But well, back to Necramech, like let's get him quickly out. Oh, this is beautiful. Warfans also have one of favorite things for me. Their stances are unhindered, so you can press forward without losing any mobility, because there is no forced movement when you press forward and melee swing, like on the polearms. And I just personally truly love that thing. I just love when the melee stances don't really force your movement. I think it will be really good to compare the Warfans without Xata's Whisper, which is the Kullervo's crit, and see the difference instantly on the fact that we have multishot on it. Well, that was still only half of the HP. I would probably still take it down if I hit weak spot, but the thing is that I just want to walk up to it, press the heavy, and I want it dead. And quickly before I go over the build for Arum Spinosa and Quassus Prime, let me show you Quassus Prime, our newest addition to Warframe. Since it's a Warfan that works similarly to Arum Spinosa, the heavy attack works nearly the same. The major difference is that Quassus forces slash for every instance of that multishot from heavy attack. But let's take a look at the base stats without mods for both weapons. Quassus definitely has way more critical strike chance, way better critical multiplier. By the way, you see 13.1x and 10.2x just because my Kullervo got Violet Tau shards for the critical damage on melees. So basically Arum Spinosa only loses with the crit chance and the crit multiplier. All other stats are a bit higher than the Quassus. The main thing is that in the end it all does not really matter. What matters is the fact that heavy attack works the same, has the same multishot, so it's very easy to push the damage on both melees, especially in that meta, to the limit that the damage attenuation can go through. So all that matters is that they both have the same multishot, so they both should deal with the Necramechs and other damage attenuated stuff pretty same way, and that means pretty easily when you have Xata's Whisper. Ah, fucking Bone Widow, too easy. Give me the Voidric. Remember that Acolytes ain't an issue to deal with either, you know? Nice, that's a Voidric. Let's see how it deals without any like weak spots. Just as I expected, but let's now find one more and take a look how it looks like without any enhancements. We're actually just gonna use Kullervo's crit just to reach that maximum damage potential, but no Xatas. Let's just see that possibility of the slash on it. Ain't gonna do much. It's all about that multi-shot. You can always hit those weak spots, you know, on the back and where the arms are connected. But yeah, as I said, I just want to walk up to it, press the heavy swing, and don't really think much more about it. So before we go over the builds for the weapons, let's get two things straight. I used Kullervo to showcase the entire thing because he's one of my favorites and because he's far from optimal Warframe pick for this. And that means that we have lots and lots of damage in store. And the second thing is a little bit tricky because it's about priming, so we can get even more stupider points of damage, but about that I'm gonna go a little bit further into the video. Let's go over the builds for the weapons now. So basically what you see here on Quassus Prime is the build I used on Kullervo. But it's not an optimal build, so don't copy paste this one. Let me fix it real quick for you and explain you what's up there. So this is what I would be using normally on every other frame since I got Xata to generate the combo points. So I don't need any initials, I don't need any crescendo, anything. And not even like the combo points are not that necessary, but they are to guarantee you that you will always reach the damage limit. Because that's what's important, to reach the damage limit on the damage attenuated enemies, so you can copy all that things with your Xata's Whisper and reach all that damage limit with every single instance of the multi-shot you do. And this is exactly why melee exposure is a total overkill for this, and the best possible arcane for this is, yeah, the one that no one ever uses, which is melee duplicate. And as you can clearly see, I don't have it myself, and even better, I only have 2 copies of it. But what arcane can be better when we need the most possible multi-shot, so we have like the most possible instances of the damage in one possible swing, than a thing that can literally double our hits on the base critical hits. And the base critical hits, the keyword here, is the reason why Iron Spinosa is better than Quassus Prime for this. Not only it has higher base damage, it also has lower base critical strike chance, which is important here, to only have the base critical hits. And with just galvanized steel, we already at 73.5% crit on Quassus, but it's doubled for the heavy attacks which we're using to kill the Necramechs and other damage attenuated stuff, so it kinda kills the idea of getting second wave of your multi-shot from the melee duplicate, since it only works for the base critical hits, aka yellow crits. And this is also why Kullervo is completely worst frame to pick for it, because you cannot achieve that base critical hits, or you would just not use his Wrathful Advance, which is the entire thing about Kullervo for me, and that means him giving crazy ass critical strike chance to melee weapon. So, for the best possible results, Iron Spinosa built like this, and Arcane Avenger. With this, so sadly with this Riven and Arcane Avenger I will have like 111, but nothing can be perfect with those Rivens, you know? Especially that the fact this Riven's pretty garbage, but it gives me a little bit more crit, so I can reach that easy 100% on most frames without having to use Adarza. But if you don't have a Riven and you don't want a one, or you just don't have Platinum, Focus Radon is a good option, but we're gonna need a priming weapon, and that's also complicated, but it's a way to get insane damage increase. Thing is, we don't necessarily need the Riven to increase our critical strike chance on Arum Spinosa, since we can prime the damage attenuated stuff. The problem is that the priming is really problematic with that case, because if you do damage to the Necramech or anything else, it will already get the damage attenuation ramping up. If you would be able to put viral on it without doing any damage to it, you would go bypass the first damage limit that the game puts on the Necramechs, let's say, that was like 187k. And then if you would like use Encumber to secure some more statuses for that condition overload we have in the build, and get puncture debuffs as well, that would increase the final critical chance you have on that target, and suddenly you end up on a 19 dagger hits from your heavy of that Warfan, plus 19 Xata's Whisper procs, that are of course doubled if you're using melee duplicate, which gives you 38 each, and then you have those beautiful viral stacks that bypass the initial damage limit to that damage attenuated stuff. And then on top of everything else here, you can hit the weak points that will put even higher damage limit in the first spot. So you already go into like millions off of that mere 187ks. And sadly that doesn't really let our Kullervo shine, because that's all about the normal yellow hits. So his Wrathful Advance, that just by pressing it gives me 662 flat crit, which is just easily putting tier 6 crit on the weapon. And that's not even like stacked or anything, that's just my normal Kullervo straight into the mission. So 6 tiers of crit for free, but we don't really get benefit of it, just nerfed on the damage attenuation stuff, since we won't get the melee duplicate. So, if you're enjoying my content, remember to subscribe and click that bell icon to get notified with my latest uploads. And without further ado, let's continue with the video. So this is exactly where our beautiful Octavia comes in. And she's just being herself, as always, the queen of fucking broken beyond, with her metronome ability giving you extra multi-shot. But hey, does it work on those heavy attacks on Warfans? Well, let's see. You remember what I said about the Quassus heavy attack? The forced slash? Let's see how it works. So, I'm not gonna come close, I will just do like this. How many times we get? Times 6. Times 10. What was it? 18. 18. And the closer we get, the more slashes we're gonna get, because look, the projectiles like spread quite heavily. So that's why I was trying always to get close to my necramech and everything to get the hits. Normal heavy also applies something, because you send the fans, but if you come close, the normal heavy as well hits them and knocks them down. So melee affliction builds, viable on Quassus completely, just in case anyone asks. So one more time. And one more time here. So now I got my juicy multi-shot buff, which is 134%. So let's see how many slashes we get now. Yeah. Let me knock them down, in case someone says I put afflictions on. Well, I was already, like, had some slashes. 21. 28. 28. 31. Well, let's just come close and get the full benefit that had 12. 57. Yeah. 20 as soon as the buff went off. Or maybe I get to... I will get lower one now, but let's just do proper stacking on it. 100 multi-shot again. So it clearly does work, and it will work same for Arum Spinosa. So with 322% ability strength and build like this, just for solely getting that multi-shot, but this build would have one purpose, getting the multi-shot and the Xatas as high as possible. So power ramp, augmented, but without those yet, we have 96.6% multi-shot. So look, this is like nearly 40. This is 60, so let's say here we have 100, 125, Noctua provides another 60, Madurai provides 40, so you can just picture yourself in a relic mission with all that shit stacked, with Nidus Spectre to give you multiplicative 28%, and then you get the double from relic, the buff for double the ability strength, and just imagine your multi-shot then, 300, 400%. Why do I talk about those specific circumstances? Well, because I see most people doing disruption missions in relic missions to crack some relics meanwhile. So yeah, that's a possibility, very easy possibility to have that all possible damage stacked up. Just keep in mind that one-shotting damage attenuated stuff is better with Arum Spinosa because of the multi-shot, but one-shotting stuff like Acolytes or Behemoth Juggernauts is way better with something like a thrown weapon. That's obviously where Kullervo shines. But as I said before, those guys are supposed to be hit on the belly, so you can't really do damage normally to them other than just bullshit damage off of thrown weapons, because look, for example, the Arum Spinosa dagger's damage on this. But when I come close and I actually make contact the weapon with the Behemoth, big difference. So comparing Xata, even though I'm not set to do big damage in hits like Eclipse, which is the better pick for a Helmin than Xatas to kill things like this and Acolytes. But yeah, just look on the power of the thrown weapons into anything other than the damage attenuation. Oh, they exploded from the first hit. So now, perfect time to go to the last part of the video, which is how to be able to prime stuff without doing damage to it. And if you wonder why we wanna prime without doing damage, that's simple, because if you prime and do any single damage point, you will start triggering the damage attenuation. So all your hits and all your priming will be just pointless. Therefore, we don't want any viral quills, any companion damage. That's why we will be using elusive posture, so it avoids attacking. Remember to remove viral quills, because it's the thing that will still be used by your panzer. Even if it doesn't attack with its claws, it will still use the viral quills with this mod. And for this we will be needing a primer weapon. And you would ask why Twin Kochmak? That's simply because that's a little brother of Comb and it has very high status, and I have a Riven with negative damage on it. And on top of everything else, that's a hit scan weapon. That means even if we have 0 damage, we will still be able to put status effects. So here we have just a viral, an electric and radiation. But the beauty is that secondary weapons have access to secondary encumber, which fixes the issues of getting any other kind of debuff. So even with our Xata's Whisper and crazy multishot buff from Octavia, having minus damage will not trigger any damage attenuation yet. It has to be at least 1 point of damage. And the best thing that I use Rauta usually for the combo points, and I also have a minus damage Riven on it, so I can always get my combo points for my melee on the Necramech or other damage attenuated stuff, and then one tap it real quick. And I have here Corrosive and Cold with primary Frostbite, and I have Hunter Track and Lingering Torment to increase the duration of our status. I opted out to play the copy of the main build, with the only difference being the Cold added to all the mix, so I can get the primary Frostbite for even more multi-shot. The main thing about this build is the magazine capacity and the fire rate. It's irreplaceable. So there was only one thing left to deal with, which is the combo duration on our melee. Since we wanna shoot the Rauta first, then we wanna prime with Twin Kochmak. So all I did is to redo the build for Octavia and put Swift Momentum as an aura. I also ignored all basic aspects of Octavia and I went full duration and ability strength, because our Metronome, multishot buff and our Xata's Whisper is all we really care about in that setup. Of course, Molt Augmented and Arcane Fury for the extra niche of damage. And our Arum Spinosa build exactly like this, with a Riven similar to this, because it gives us around, that's let's say 210 crit chance, that's 110 crit chance and another 110 crit chance. And that gives us 101.5% chance to crit, including our puncture stacks that Twin Kochmak is gonna provide, which is just nearly perfect for our melee duplicate. So considering how much multi-shot we will have at the given time, let's assume we're gonna have 150% once we are stacked up. So the first heavy swing from Arum Spinosa has 18 thrown spines, which will get affected by our 150 metronome. So we will end up with 27 base multi-shot, which melee duplicate will duplicate to 54, and then Xata's Whisper will duplicate it again to 108 instances of damage. And we will also need Madurai for the Void Strike. So finally it's time to take a quick peek at how it looks like. So after getting my combo points with Rauta, I just prime him with my Kochmak, go Operator, press 1, swap to Spinosa and press heavy swing on him. So let's see how it works on our beautiful Void Rig. Let's get the combo points. Now Kochmak priming, go Operator, get the pump, swap to Spinosa. He moved. Then get the weak point. Nice, one more Void Rig. He's stuck on me. He can't move forward. Let's start priming him with our combo point generator because it has cold. Weaken him with Twin Kochmak. Can we Madurai already? We can. Swap to Arum Spinosa. Where is he going? Pretty easy. That's pretty easy, as you can see. If you have like jacked up Rhino with 420 roar, like the video I did on Rhino, like built like this just to get the 420 roar, you can easily do damage cap, especially if you just bring something like Mirage alongside the Rhino that will give you total eclipse. That's an easy damage cap. But in short, the easiest way to kill instantly anything that's damage attenuated is priming it, making sure nothing else hits it before, without even like doing a single point of damage. Priming it with a hit scan, it has to be like hit scan weapon with a minus damage. You prime it, preferably secondary because secondary encumber, and then you stack your multi-shot. On Octavia can be like different weapons, but I think the melee meta just proves that melee is the best way for it. So either Quassus, which is just a bit weaker because of the spread, or Arum Spinosa. And you do Xata's Whisper, after priming you just do that swing, and that's it. You don't need the damage cap. If you want damage cap, you need your team. Just make sure they don't also rise up the damage attenuation. But most things you can just walk up and just use your Arum. If you know that you will crit, duplicate it, you have your multi-shot buff from Octavia, well, Xata's Whisper, all these multi-shots, you will not need it till level cap. On level cap, this is when the viral power really shines. And condition overload with all the debuffs that secondary Incuber can provide. And as I said, Twin Kochmak isn't even the best primer, I just happen to have a Riven for it with minus damage, and that's a hit scan weapon, so that's why it worked. And Darum Spinosa is way better in my opinion because of the spread of the projectiles you send, and I happen to have a Riven that worked very good with Galvanized Steel to give me just perfect crit after I stack my combo points with Rauta, of course, with Galetromite, that I only needed that 5 puncture stacks that our Twin Kochmak gives me to get 101.5 crit chance, if I remember correctly. There are of course other ways to do the one-shot on damage attenuated stuff, on Archons separately than Necramechs, but this is my take. It can work for both, as long as no one makes the damage attenuation ramp up before you touch it. So, that's all from me for now. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, leave a like, comment, share and subscribe. And as always, see you on the next one.